April 28, 2025. I would ask that we all please rise if possible for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So this public hearing is the meeting we have for anyone from the public to ask questions they might have regarding the warrant articles for annual town meeting on May 5th and special town meeting on May 7th. The Finance Committee began reviewing budgets in January. Meetings were held with the present and former town manager as well as department heads. The actual budget process itself began last November. Over the course of multiple meetings, the Finance Committee discussed budget line items, asked questions, received feedback from all parties, and during these reviews, adjustments were made to the budget. With respect to this public hearing, this is the procedure we will follow. We will address each article individually. Any residents that would like to speak about the article, please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record. After resident questions are addressed, we'll open it up to the committee for questions. After discussion is completed, the Finance Committee will vote on a recommendation as to how to proceed with the article. Warrants for the 2025 annual and special town meetings were finalized prior to the conclusion of the Planning Board's public hearing for all zoning articles. And this is just trying to make sure we're all talking the same language here. As a result, the issued warrant reflects some zoning articles that were submitted before the February 14th deadline, but are no longer eligible for a town meeting vote. Mass General Law, Chapter 48, Section 5, requires all zoning amendments to have a planning board public hearing before town meeting so that the board may submit its recommendation to advise town meeting, just like the Finance Committee advises town meeting for all warrant articles. While the Finance Committee may also submit recommendation on zoning articles, the Planning Board is required by law to do so. Further, Section 5 provides that no proposed zoning ordinance or bylaw which has been unfavorably acted upon by a city council or town meeting shall be considered by the city council or town meeting within 2 years after the date of such unfavorable action, unless the adoption of such proposed ordinance or bylaw is recommended in the final report of the Planning Board. Articles 26 and 27 of the 2025 annual town meeting relate to the adoption of the MBTA Community Overlay District, which were also in the 2024 annual town meeting as Articles 41 and 42. The warrant articles received unfavorable action at the 2024 annual town meeting. Therefore, the board must recommend adoption of the articles for them to be eligible for town meeting in 2025, which is within the 2-year period. At its April 7th, 2025 meeting, the Planning Board voted with a 3-2 majority to not recommend adoption of the MBTA Community Overlays District articles, therefore failing to meet the minimum requirements to be eligible for a town meeting vote. While the article text and map are still included in the warrant, they are no longer eligible for a vote by the body for the reasons described above. Given this fact, there will be no discussions on these articles. I will now look for a motion to waive the reading of the warrant articles.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote. Mr. Curran, you can start with
Okay.
one.
So what is the procedure here for you? Do you want me to go through article by article, or you basically ask for your recommendation?
Yes.
And just a brief description of each one as I go through?
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first article obviously is the election, so I don't really go through that one, but Article 2, the election of officer salary, this is a statutory requirement that the salaries of elected officials be voted on by town meeting and set each fiscal year. So that includes the Board of Health, the moderator, the planning board, school committee, and the select board. And the salaries are not changing. They're the same in FY25 as they were in FY26.
Any audience members? Any committee members?
No, thank you.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 2.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? No? Unanimous vote.
Okay. So Article 3 is an annual article that's done each year. And this is to allow the town to enter into lease agreements. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong one. So Article 3. Oh, so I'm in the consent calendar right now. So so they're actually their article numbers. So what I just said was Article 2. Article 3 is the consent agenda, which there are 4 articles within the consent agenda, and those are Articles 21, 22, 23, and 24. So Article 21 is just to accept the annual report that's submitted each year, and that requires a vote of town meeting. Article 22 is an authorization by town meeting to allow the town to enter into lease purchase agreements, or lease purchase agreements, which you do annually, and that just allows you to enter into agreements throughout the year. And Article 23 is to authorize the acceptance of Chapter 90 funds. This year, I think we're accepting roughly $1.3 million. And this is something you do each year. And then also Article 24 is to reauthorize revolving funds. So you reauthorize the amounts of the revolving funds each year. Let me just go to that article just to... There we go. Hold on. Trying to find that article. Hold on one second.
Is it not there?
Page 6.
Anybody know what page? It's page 6. Oh, they're right together. Okay. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Yep. So this shows you the revolving fund expenditure caps for each one, and none of those are changing for this fiscal year. And that's something you vote on annually as well.
Okay. Seeing nobody standing from the public on these articles, any board members?
No, thank you.
No questions?
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 3, 3-21, 22, 23, 24.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
So Article 4, you've already gone through this quite a bit. This is the budget article. And so that is on pages 7 through 14, I believe.
Yep.
And the bottom line of the budget is $145,418,104, with a change of $6,025,350 for the general fund budget for fiscal year FY 2026.
Okay, anybody from the public? Seeing nobody rise. Board members,
No.
No questions.
any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 4.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
Okay, thank you. Article 5 is the Sewer Enterprise Fund, and this budget is, total appropriation will be $7,205,030, and the revenue being raised for this fiscal year is $7,287,806, for a surplus of $82,000 in that account. And this is to fund the sewer enterprise fund throughout the year, FY '26.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public. Board members,
I have one question on sewer rate. What was the increase in sewer?
The sewer rate was 6%, right? Was it 6.5%? I'm sorry.
Was that the sewer or water?
The water was the higher one. Sorry. So sewer was 2. Hold on. Let me just confirm that.
I was gonna say, my notes say 2, but I just wanted to verify that.
I believe it's 2, but let me confirm that. Yeah. Hold on 1 second. Oh, you know. Sorry, I was just trying to connect up. I wasn't connected here anywhere. But it is 2% for the sewer and 6.5% for the water.
Water, okay. Thank you.
any other questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 5.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
So Article 6 is to vote to transfer and appropriate from overlay surplus the sum of $400,000 to the Water Enterprise Stabilization Fund. And this is the purpose of providing rate relief for the fiscal year 26 and for fiscal year 27. In the water, in the Article 7, you'll see that we appropriate $400,000 directly from overlay surplus for fiscal year 26. And this Article 6 is being put aside in the stabilization fund so that we can use it in FY 27. And the reason that we're doing that is by using $400 in each of these fiscal years, it allows us to bring that rate down to that 6.5% rather than 11%, which was the increase we were looking at had we not provided any relief. And after those 2 years, we'll start swapping out some of what used to be used for sewer debt into out of the regular general fund, and that will be used to to provide relief to the rate for water moving forward. So that's it for that article. Yes, that's it.
Okay, seeing nobody rise from the public. Board members, any questions?
I have one quick one. So was it going to be 11 for the next 2 years, and then by doing this 2 years in a row, we're bringing it down to 6 for over the?
Yeah, it was going to be very high this year. I think it was 11 and a half this year and maybe 10 something the following year. And then it would start to drop if we used the money, but we wanted to bridge that burden.
So it's going to be like 6 for the next 2 years?
6.5 for the next 2, and then I think it's projected to drop a little bit from there. Of course, we don't want to commit to anything, but what we're looking at, the projection is that the rate would be in that neighborhood of 3 to 4% after that.
Okay, thank you. I know we talked about this quite a bit, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
in a month or
Yeah.
so.
Good to refresh everyone's recollections.
Right. I have no other questions.
Okay, any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 6.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
Article 7, thank you, is the Water Enterprise Fund, combined fund, and includes distribution and the plant itself. So this is to vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,712,020, and to transfer and appropriate the sum of $400,000 to fund the total budget for the year. And that, as we discussed previously, the rate will be 6.5% to fund that, given the relief that's being provided within this article.
Okay, seeing nobody rise in the public, any board members have any questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 7.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Article 8.
Okay, Article 8 is to fund the Stormwater Enterprise Fund. And this is an appropriation of $779,800, and that's being paid for through Stormwater Enterprise receipts, and that's to fund FY 2026.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise, board members have any questions?
No.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 8.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Thank you. Article 9 is the Cable Enterprise Fund, and this is an appropriation of $484,120 to fund the Cable Enterprise Fund budget. And we're collecting fees of roughly $600,000, leaving a surplus of $115,000. So that will allow us to do capital work as well, and that funds the whole cable TV enterprise in the town of Tewksbury.
Seeing nobody from the public stand, any board members have any questions? John, I just had one question on this. Does this include, it might be under another article, some improvements to the Ella Fleming School?
That is I believe that's in a
Separate article?
separate article, yes.
All right. Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 9.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous vote.
All right, thank you. Article 10 is to see if this is more house cleaning, that it's to transfer from bond premium the sum of $31,750,000 to reduce the town's exempt debt principal. So we just take that bond premium and we use it to knock down the cost of the principal every year.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise, any board members have any questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 10.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote?
Article 11 is really just a statement of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund allocation plan. Shows what the starting balance is, the total available balance, and what is basically available, which is $5,676,754. That's available through the Affordable Housing Trust.
Okay, seeing nobody rise in the public, any board members have any questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 11.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote?
Okay, Article 12, this is Community Preservation Fund, establishing the budget for the administrative costs for the year, as well as allocating monies that are required under the CPA, which is 10% to each of the categories, and CPA. The three categories are open space, community housing, and historic preservation. So based on the projected revenue, the amount to be allocated to open space is $106,918. Community housing, $106,918. And historic preservation, it's showing is nothing because we are committing money from to debt service for the historic preservation for projects already done, which includes the town hall rehabilitation and the Ella Fleming bond payments. So the commitment to those two things will satisfy that 10% commitment. FY26 budget reserve will be $801,000. That goes into the undesignated, and the administrative cost is $53,000, which is a percentage each year. I think it's 5%.
Okay, seeing nobody rise in the public, any board members have any questions?
No, thank you.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 12.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Article 13.
Okay, Article 13 is a capital article, and this is money that will be transferred from the stabilization fund in the amount of $1.9 million, or $1,985,066 to be expended for capital items in the DPW, fire, and facilities and grounds. And each of these items are detailed in this article, and with the intent of that money being replenished in the stabilization fund when free cash is certified in the fall. This will satisfy the capital requests in the capital plan for FY26, at least in these three departments, and the others are addressed in other articles.
Okay. We have a question from the public?
I do. My name's Pat Hughes.
Please step up, you need to be heard.
Yeah, the mic.
Pat Hughes, 551 South Street. Can you tell me where the sidewalk reconstruction is going to be, or is that in a different article, or?
So, hold on a second, let's see if we have that itemized. I'm not sure that we do, but. Oh, here we go. That's the drainage. So these funds will be used for the construction of Phase 2 of a new sidewalk on Whipple Road, which will be from Ferncroft Road to Pine Street. This project was identified in the town's pedestrian mobility master plan, which was created in 2018.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
Is there any thought about reconstructing the sidewalks, such as on South Street, which were probably done in the early 70s, and they're falling apart? If you were on a wheelchair like my husband is, you cannot go down those sidewalks.
So I would have to look at, they do have a roadway management plan, and I think they have a sidewalk management plan too. I don't know how old it is, but I have to look back and find out if those, let me just write those down, but what was this, South Street and what?
Well, it's the whole of South Street.
Yeah,
And, well, the worst part is probably right at Pringle. Goes uphill, but you have trees growing through the middle of them. Everything's broken. I mean, people who jog down that, you know. I mean, it's just dangerous, and dangerous for older people like myself. I have to watch out for all the holes, and
well,
it's over, you know, it's over 50 years old or more, you know.
think-
It was in the 70s, so.
I think the DPW has a prioritization list, but I could be wrong. It could be for like road resurfacing. I'm not
I know this,
100% on sidewalks.
yeah, let me see if you give me a minute, let's see if I can.
I haven't actually reviewed it, so so I'm not sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of
I know they have roads.
roots growing through
Right, it is a
sidewalks.
mess.
Oh, yeah. I'm in a wheelchair and
I know you are,
I'm not
so
on,
you'd have to
you
go
don't see
down
me
the
on this,
street.
that's where I
The
go.
sidewalks, yeah.
And it's not it's a little scary around Pringle area where the curve is, so. I know I asked this before and I was told they're gonna take care of it, but that was probably 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah. So I do have a pavement management plan. I'm not sure that, what I could do is I could get back to you if you'd like.
Fine.
And if you want to just write down your number so you don't have to give it out over the air and your name, and I'll call you and let you know if it's on a plan and when you could expect to see it done. All right, thank you, Patricia.
Any questions from board members?
No, thank you.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 13.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Article 14.
Okay, Article 14 is the school capital article for $123,178, and this is to replace and upgrade wireless access points and firewalls at all schools except the Center Elementary, and this is being funded through the stabilization fund, and it was the request of the school department.
Seeing no questions in the public, any board members have any questions?
No, thank you.
Nope.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 14.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Article 15.
Okay, Article 15, to see if the town will vote to transfer the sum of $300,000 from overlay surplus for the purpose of conducting a school facility study to consider building options and address the long-term program and educational needs of the town in the most cost-efficient manner. This process shall be managed and executed by the school facility study with funds to be expended and approved by the town manager. So this is, was initiated by the select board and then basically studied by the facility study group, and they made a recommendation to the select board to submit an article to do a feasibility study and to determine what our next steps should be with the school building program. And so that's what this money is for. It comes out of overlay surplus, which was declared by the Board of Assessors at an earlier date. And that will allow them to move forward with that study.
Seeing nobody from the public rise, board members have any questions? I have one question. So the study committee stays with, they're following it through with the consultant, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
it doesn't end, that committee doesn't end until that consultant provides details.
Until they provide a finished document, yes.
Okay, thank you. Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 15?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. Article 16.
So this is, Article 16 is one of the articles that I wanted to ask a question of the Finance Committee. I received a communication from DPW that one of the estimates on the cost of, I think it was the F-50 utility maintenance with crane, that was higher than they anticipated. And the proper way to do that would be an amendment on town meeting floor, I presume. Would the Finance Committee want to vote on that tonight, or would you want me to just bring an amendment forward at town meeting?
Well, we did, if you knew what you were going to amend, we could vote on it tonight.
If you
or
have the number.
if you have the,
I do, yeah, so the 105 is going to change to 115
In both.
in both of those articles, yeah. And then the bottom line number will change accordingly, so 105 to 115.
1,000 more.
Yeah. So let me just,
Mr. Chairman, we should probably have a written amendment to vote on, and then the article, may I suggest that for those two articles, unless there is anything else, we should probably table them to time certain, our meeting before the town meeting.
I'm okay with that, that's fine.
Yeah, the
And
only,
then when we have the written amendment.
Yeah,
vote on it.
I mean, I just became aware of these today, so I was, so I'm happy, that's fine. I'm happy to bring them in, I actually feel better about doing it that way.
can we still make a motion on this so that we have a recommendation on our?
Well, it would be, my recommendation would be to table them to time certain of the meeting before the town meeting. That way, we can take them off the table, vote on the amendment, vote on the article.
the only issue there.
I just feel uncomfortable voting on an amendment that I've never seen written down.
Yeah, so my suggestion or thought would be to just pretend we didn't hear any of that.
Yeah.
Approve, and then,
But we have it, it's on.
no, right, but I'm just saying, approve it so that we have at least a recommendation on our recommendation sheet, and then when
We've done that before, table things to time certain.
yeah, it just leaves it like, what is our recommendation? Nobody ever knows because it's not on our recommendation sheet, but,
We won't know till town meeting night.
well, but we don't update our recommendation sheet real time.
Right, right.
So, and we're not, and unless somebody asked us, I guess either way, it's not, I don't feel terribly strongly.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's watching, they would understand that the reason that it's not, we don't have it as a recommendation is because we're anticipating an amendment, and we even kind of know what the amendment's going to say. We just can't vote on it without
I mean, you can
seeing
even
it
put
certain.
that in the article, amendment pending, as far as the recommendations. table till time certain and amendment pending.
Okay, and if anybody wants to know, they can ask us.
Yeah,
You can
that's a
tell.
good idea.
Okay, that's fine with me.
So, what was your motion?
Table Article 16 and 17 to time certain, which will be the Finance Committee pre-meeting at 7 PM on May 5th.
Seconds.
I was gonna do it, but I was like, didn't want to wreck the flow.
All in favor? Aye. Unanimous vote.
All right, thank you.
So Article,
So Article 18, right?
yep,
Okay, so this article is appropriation from Stormwater Enterprise Fund in the amount of $400,000 to be spent on drainage improvements and upgrades of $250,000 and project development of $150,000, which is basically design money. And that's coming from the Stormwater Enterprise Fund.
okay, seeing nobody from the public, any board members have any questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 18?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Article 19.
Okay, Article 19 is the appropriation. This requires a 2/3 vote at town meeting. It's a bond authorization, appropriation of $5.4 million for the purpose of doing water distribution line replacements, and it requires a vote of town meeting for that bond authorization, and it requires 2/3.
Okay, seeing nobody rise in the public, board members have any questions?
No.
If not, do we hear any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 19?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
Okay, Article 20 is similar. It's a bond authorization as well, and this is for $1.5 million to be expended on installation of water meters and water meter components. And this is a continuation of an ongoing project, and it requires a 2/3 vote of town meeting. And it is also, both of these articles are supported by water fees.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise, any board members have any questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 20?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. Article 21.
Okay, Article 21 is an amendment to the general bylaw pertaining to definitions related to dogs, dog kennels. And these are changes that were made to bring the local bylaw in consistency with the state statute on what these definitions are. And that is the intent of it. And without going into too much detail, it basically defines what a kennel is and what constitutes, what elements constitute a kennel.
Okay. Seeing nobody rise in the public, board members have any questions?
I actually do have one question, and I don't know if you can answer it tonight. I support the article, but I'm curious from the standpoint of zoning, when you get to certain levels here, 10, 15, and over 15, are there zoning restrictions for those?
No, there's pertaining to the number of dogs, you mean?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
there's,
just wondering if my neighbor in a residential neighborhood can have 20 dogs next to me in my yard.
Well, it is, they are defined in zoning in terms of like where a kennel can be.
All right, that's what I was getting
Yeah.
at, yes.
So it's not your neighbor.
Yeah,
Unless they open a kennel, if they're allowed to.
okay, thank you. That was my only question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, any motions?
I'll motion to adopt Article 21.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
Do you want me to go through, so the next articles are, obviously 26 is not going to be voted on, so you don't need to take
Skipping that, skipping 27.
27 also. And then Alex is going to come in for the zoning ones, but do you want me to go through the special before she comes in?
Whatever is easiest for you.
All right, I'll do that, and then she can come in, because I know she's in a hearing next door. So the special town meeting is obviously going to be on April 28th. And, I'm sorry, special town meeting is May 7th. Tonight's April 28th. And there are 3 articles on the special. They all have to do with FY25 expenses. So the first article is budget amendments in FY25, and there's a budget, so the amount of money needed in different various line items is roughly $1.1 million. And that's being transferred from budget surpluses of $1.1 million from other various line items. So there are some salary accounts, accounting regular salaries, town hall regular salaries that have some surplus that we'll be using. School group health and Shawshene Regional Vocational School, that assessment came in, an adjusted assessment came in after it was established at town meeting what the assessment was, so there'll be money left in that account this year. DPW highway regular salaries had a small amount left. Solid waste, based on the amount of volume that we have each year, sometimes we end up with a surplus. We did this year. Town group health also had a bit of a surplus, so that brought us to the 1.1 million available, and most of that is being used in the school operating budget and having to do mostly with out-of-district tuitions, transportation costs, and special ed costs. And there's also some unanticipated Essex Aggie tuition money above $18,000. But the school operating budget is being increased by 275, 225, and 75, and 75. And in the smaller line items, school Medicare and school unemployment's gone up. And then in the regular budget, police salaries has some money needs because there's been a shortfall in employees and salaries, so there's money being needed for overtime. Administrative service regular salaries, $25,000, and assessors regular salary, $44,000, and Northern Middlesex, that is the RECC. And I put that line in here in case there is a shortfall that we have to increase our assessment, because they are having a tremendous struggle with personnel and retention, which is not unique to Tewksbury. It's something industry-wide for dispatchers. So hopefully we won't have to use that, but I have a feeling we will, and I wanted to put something in there because this is the only opportunity I'll have. It's sort of different when you're doing NEMREC is its own budget, so there's not stuff we can't do off the book, shall we say, it has to be done through town meeting, so that's why I put that amount in there. It is a detailed explanation of that in the handout as well, but that's a 10,000-foot summary of the budget transfers.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise. Board members have any questions?
No,
Dave's got his calculator out.
Actually, one quick one. The school operating obviously is needed quite a bit.
They did,
And
yeah.
that's for this current fiscal year we're in, correct?
Yes.
So for, I can't remember now, it's been a while. I went on vacation last week, so I don't remember exactly, but we feel like we're in a good position with the
With the
for the next.
Yeah, so that's a great question. It was my first question as well when we were going through all of this. Is this a structural deficit or is it, a one-time issue? So we did, when we put the FY26 budget together, we tried to account for these changes you're seeing in this budget amendment. It's hard to do it because this is sort of I've been ringing the alarm bell on this issue for quite a while now. The increase in education costs is really untenable right now, and it has to do with the things that I've mentioned: special ed, specifically out-of-district tuitions, transportation costs, and in special ed. So those three items go up significantly each year. Like we have $1.5 million tuition. The average cost of the transportation on one out-of-district person is probably about between $60,000 and $70,000 just for transportation for the year. And you can't predict who's going to be coming in, who's going to come in and use those out-of-district services in a year, and it varies from year to year. What we do know about next year is we know that there are some students that are aging out, so we know that they're going away. So we're hoping that will be enough for us to absorb that's coming in. So there was some level of projection that was done, as well as we can do in a very unpredictable environment, to determine whether we have enough in the budget. So right now I think that we do, but that could change at any moment.
Right, okay.
Just as another thing to add, again, is that, the Chapter 70 money goes up roughly 3 to 4% a year, but the expenses, they go up way more than that, like 7 plus. So Chapter 70 isn't really keeping pace with what's going on, and neither is the circuit breaker money, which, some of that circuit breaker represents 80% tuition reimbursement, and the transportation cost last year was 40%. Just doesn't cut it. I mean, we're not able to make, it's just too much. And even though the population of the schools is not really increasing per se, the cost of the services provided is not going down, it's increasing. And, the mental health services that we provide today are a lot different than pre-COVID. They didn't just go away when COVID ended, they continue to be needed. So it's a challenge, and it's a problem that I think the state needs to be addressed on the state level.
That's all I have.
Dave?
Well, yeah, just one comment. I mean, you kind of addressed it, is this a structural deficit with the schools, or is it a one-time? I support the article this time, but I do get worried when I see nearly $200,000 coming out of town budget to go into school operating. I just hope we can not make that a habit.
Right. So we tried to do, so I'm looking at 470 from Shawshene and school group health.
So, I mean, the school operating is transferring out $694,000 to an $860,000 deficit.
Yeah.
And the rest of it's all being made up by town departments.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it just commentary on, let's try to make sure that we don't have, because I don't know that the town departments can support that
Right.
next year,
Right.
Okay, any other questions? Any motions?
I'll motion to adopt Article 1.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
All right, thank you. Article 2 is annual appropriation to take care of the snow and ice deficit. So this is in Tewksbury, you guys basically hold $600,000 in free cash aside primarily for snow, to wipe out any snow and ice deficits you have. So this year, we used $586,000, holding out $13,000 for prior year bills, because that's the only way you can pay prior year bills. But just an interesting note, snow and ice is also covered in the Article 1. So $163,000 went to snow and ice deficit, as well as this $586,000. So that's $700,000 or $800,000 that's going towards snow and ice deficit. I saw online someone commenting, "Oh, how come they have that deficit of $700,000 or $800,000? How can that be?" And it's unfortunately it's the way these budgets are put together, and they've been done that way for decades, which is that it's almost like a gamble, right? So you can appropriate, if you appropriate less money in a fiscal year, you cannot put it on your recap in the following year, even though Tewksbury doesn't typically do that. But so the reverse is that, so no one's ever decreases the amount, but they also never increase it. So the amount that you see on the budget doesn't represent what you typically have, snow and ice removal. It's represented when you carry the $600,000 in the free cash. And when you do it that way, if you do have money, then it could be used for another purpose like it was last year. Last year you had $486,000 that was needed for snow and ice, but the remainder of that money went somewhere else. So that it's just it's a funky way that cities and towns have been doing it based on the way the statute is written, and most people don't understand it, and for good reason, because it's a little crazy the way it's written. But that's why cities and towns do it the way they do it.
Okay. Seeing nobody from the public on Article 2, any board members have any questions?
Nope.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
And then finally, the last article, Article 3, is to pay prior year bills of $13,953, and there is just a handful of various bills being paid. Details in the handbook, but it's just bills that for one reason or another we can't pay because they were based on prior fiscal year. So $13,000. So we're using free cash to do that, because you can use free cash for that purpose, and that's why I think you've been doing that annually each year for a long time. It has to be voted on by town meeting, and it requires, I believe, a 3/4 vote, right?
Maybe even 9/10
No, I
or
think
something
it's-
crazy. Yeah.
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 Weird.
Percent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
8%.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public? No other board member questions? Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote. So now we go back to,
Yeah, Article 28, is it?
8, yeah.
hello.
And Alex is going to come up for those.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. For the record, Alexandra Lauder, Community and Economic Development Plan for the town. I did allude to some of these during the budget discussion, so this won't take a lot of your time. Just wanted to kind of offer the opportunity to ask questions should you have them. Articles 26 and 27 are very easy because the articles are no longer eligible
Yep.
for a town meeting.
We
vote.
already talked about, we already taken.
Fantastic. I won't bore you with my speech. The speech is online.
I gave you a
Okay.
speech.
I think you read it, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
Fabulous. Thank you, Rich, I appreciate that. Article 28 is related to updates to the floodplain bylaw. The floodplain maps were studied and updated by FEMA. The process started in 2021, and naturally, 4 years later, we're here to adopt the updated maps. A little bit of color to this, the floodplain is regulated in several other places other than zoning. It is regulated through the Wetland Protection Act, which falls under the Conservation Commission's jurisdiction. It falls under stormwater management, which is partially the responsibility of our folks in the engineering division at DPW, and it is also a component of the building commissioner's review as the floodplain enforcement officer, one of his many great titles. And this is something that FEMA has basically handed down to the town and said, hey, we're updating these maps. These are going to be effective in July, and communities must adopt these updated maps or they risk losing participation in the flood insurance management program. So in order for the town to be able to be eligible for flood insurance, which includes the residents, then this language must be updated. The majority of it is strike through and replacement of language such as outdated contacts, outdated references, reference points on maps, a lot of housekeeping items. And this was something that was brought to our attention by FEMA mid last year. The assistant town manager worked on the changes and sent them back to FEMA, which is a part of their process, is to review the proposed changes, because they basically take our bylaw, look at it, find out what's wrong with it, and tell us what we have to fix. So Mr. Sadwick did submit that to FEMA, and they did approve these changes, and basically give it a blessing to go to town meeting. So that is Article 26, and then 27 is the accompanying map. All of these maps are on the town website. Happy to answer any questions on 26 and 27, 28 and 29.
28, 29.
Yes, and the planning board did recommend adoption of these articles.
Okay, any members of the public? Seeing nobody rise. Any board members have any questions?
Actually, no. It's very straightforward.
Any motions?
Thank you.
Motion to adopt Article 28.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote. And the accompanying map, number 29.
Only one question, is the map on the website a little clearer?
So this is the overall town map, which is what needs to be adopted. But if you go to, I think, I'm going to check it in real time.
Yeah, you requested this, and we put out a map by itself that you could open
Okay,
up.
so
Yeah.
that is out there.
Yeah.
so thank
And
you.
you can actually break it down even further. I'm trying to see if I actually made it correct.
property.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
There's, it's broken down by section of town on the community development website, and I just want to make sure that that's actually up. Yes, so if folks want to go to tewksbury-ma.gov/flood maps, all one word, FLOOD-MAPS, it's broken out into chunks of town, and unfortunately, the way they were given down to us, they're not labeled by area of town, but all you have to do is open it up, and you can kind of zoom in and zoom around. It's not as clear as our GIS map, but it's broken down a little more clearly, where you can see more of the street names and the different parcels.
That's really all I need.
Yeah.
That's perfect, thank you.
Okay. Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 29.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous vote.
Excellent. Article 30. So this is actually the one that I know I mentioned to you folks when I came through for the budget discussion. And the intent surrounding Article 30 is to incorporate new definitions into our bylaw to allow for uses that are becoming more in demand in the market. Things that have been specifically requested by, brokers, property owners and the like. Banquet and event facilities, battery storage, cold storage, data storage, and light industrial warehouses. These were all discussed at length at the planning board meeting and briefly with you folks. The second part of the article is to insert them into our use table. And the planning board did recommend inserting most of these uses by right, save for the battery storage and the banquet, which they recommended be by special permit. On the next section, it was recommended by the planning board to change the office research district R&D use from planning board special permit to by right. That's what the intention of the office research district is, as the planning board feels, so they ought to make it easier for folks to be able to move in if they're simply moving into existing space. And the last part of that article is to incorporate some abandonment and decommissioning procedures for battery storage should it be adopted. It was recommended by other towns who have this on their bylaw to include it, and it's very similar to the language that we use for solar farms. Just making sure that the materials are disposed of properly, and in the event that it is completely abandoned, that we collect a surety to be able to remove it ourselves and dispose of it properly. And that's Article 30.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise, board members have any questions?
And I assume the planning board voted.
Correct, they voted unanimously to recommend adoption.
Alex, can you explain, just for lay people like me, the difference between Industrial 1, Industrial 2, and OR, the Office Research? What are the differences in those zonings with regards to proximity to residential?
So proximity to residential, if you mean literally geographically, there really is no difference.
Okay.
There's pockets of industrial districts kind of all across town. So you think of, there's the area up on Clark Road, up at the Lowell line, there's East Street, there's Washington, Hillman, and Clinton, there's Shawshene Street, so there's different sections, but what I can, and then the Office Research is largely off of 133, up at that 495 interchange where all the office parks are. And really the differences there is Industrial 1 is more of a collection of warehouse, contractor, yards, those kinds of uses. The main difference is that Industrial 2 allows for automotive uses.
Okay.
A lot of the things that are there in those industrial districts now are possibly pre-existing non-conforming, or they definitely predate the codification of what's on the ground today. So geographically, it's tough because there's different pockets across town, and a lot of them abut residential areas, but largely we've, during the last recodification in 2022, tried to contain and shape those industrial areas to not sprawl, but to kind of be where they are, and making sure that the zoning districts reflect what's on the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 30.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
Beautiful. Article 31. So this one here is to create an exemption, basically a path for folks who have businesses that have menu boards. So primarily businesses with drive-throughs, McDonald's, Burger King, Dunkin' Donuts, those kinds of guys there. Creating a path for them to digitize their signs without having to go for a sign special permit through the planning board. The way our electronic message board sign bylaw reads right now, there's really no room for interpretation to have it not include menu boards. It's very specifically written, very well written, but it does box people in. So they do, I apologize. No, that is the first part of Article 31. So that first part of Article 31 is to provide an exemption for folks looking to basically change their menu boards from static to digital, provided that they meet this maximum panel size of 12 square feet and meet all other parts of the bylaw. And that 12 square feet came out of the upwards of 10 menu board proposals that we've received, and most of them seem to stick around that size. Starbucks and a handful of the Dunkin' Donuts locations that have come in already. And this is just something that creates a little more certainty for them. It saves them time. And if they're already an established business, the intent through the planning board was to make sure that it's not cost or time prohibitive for them to make improvements to their existing business. And the second part of that is another sign change, which is to limit the size of temporary real estate signs. Currently, the bylaw allows for, primarily it's the commercial ones, 30 square feet in area, and the planning board wanted to reduce that to 16 square feet, and making sure that these signs do serve active listings. So that's going to be the trickier part, which is why in it, there's a provision to allow for the building commissioner or a town manager's designee to help implement this bylaw, because right now the building commissioner, another hat he wears, is zoning enforcement officer and sign officer. And trying to make sure that this doesn't just become an entire project on his lap. Wanted to create that flexibility so that someone like myself or another member of staff could reach out to the businesses and approach them and ask them to reconsider their sign size. And again, this is only for temporary real estate signs.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise. Board members have any questions?
No.
I have one on the
Please.
electronic message boards. When the facility's closed for the night, the sign's off, right?
Yes.
Okay, that was it. Okay, any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
Excellent. Article 32. So this one is to modify the accessory structure bylaw to account for all swimming pool types when requiring them to be fully enclosed. So right now, there is a bit of a loophole that exists in the building code that allows for folks who want to install in-ground swimming pools with retractable tops to be exempt from enclosing the pools. And that creates a bit of a safety hazard. Other communities have moved towards kind of trying to close this loophole with the building code to make sure that the same enclosure requirements are required of the folks who elect these types of tops, with the understanding that these tops can be controlled remotely. So someone may leave their house and say, oh no, I forgot to close the pool, and they do it from the car, from somewhere else, and there is the potential that a person or an animal, possibly trespassing, could be trapped underneath or be injured in some way. So the idea is that we want to make sure that these pools are enclosed the same way any other pool would be enclosed, so that we don't have any accidents. My understanding is also that there is movement among building commissioners associations to try to get this changed, but in the meantime, there are a few communities, hopefully Tewksbury being one of them, that is moving to make sure that this loophole is closed.
Okay, seeing nobody from the public rise. Board members have any questions?
Just a couple of, I think they're stupid questions.
Not
No
stupid.
such thing.
What size does a pool have to be to fall into this? I mean, it's not like the kids' wading pool, or
No,
if you
no,
got one of
it's-
those little blow-up ones that's like, 5 feet. 10
Right,
feet.
it's really ones that would require a building permit,
Okay.
because otherwise we wouldn't know anyway.
And
Not
when
gonna
it
see if a
says,
blow pool is a retractable top.
when it says completely enclosing the pool, so that's different than a yard that's completely fenced in.
Correct.
So you would still need a fence around that pool even if your entire
Correct.
yard was
Yep.
fenced in? Okay. That's all, Mr. Chair.
I had just two quick
Please.
questions. First, do we know approximately how many residents this may affect? Like how many
It
residents?
won't, it
currently?
only affects new permits going forward.
Okay, so if someone currently has a pool that doesn't comply, it's not like they're going to be forced to fence it
They'll
immediately?
look-
Or
So, based on discussions with the building commissioner, this is something that he's been, it hasn't really come up, and he wants to make sure it doesn't come up. So, it doesn't, we wouldn't be going back and retroactively, it's only gonna affect new permits for new pools going forward.
And then is there, when it's an in-ground pool, obviously the installation of it, there's usually kind of like a patio area around it. So I'm assuming the enclosure would be the pool area, so that it's not
Yes.
going to be that you only get
No,
like
no, no,
2
no, no.
feet off the
Right.
pool type of thing.
Correct.
So people will still have the ability to kind of plan that pool area, and that'll just be part of the permit process? Okay,
Correct.
thank you. We're not getting a pool. That was not for personal purposes.
And,
I
and
just-
to
in
be
my head.
clear, this is required for in-ground pools anyway, but the building code allows an exemption for these retractable top pools, and it's really just trying to capture that to make sure that they're held to the same safety standards as other in-ground pools.
Thank you.
For the 6 weeks out of the year, a pool can be
Right,
used in this area.
Yeah. Okay, any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 32.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous vote.
That was the planning board's feeling as well in the last two, just FYI. Article 33, last one. This is intended to align the town center district with the rest of the business district. So a little bit of color on this one. Across 38, there are pockets of different types of business districts. We have the general business district, village residential, mixed use, town center, and South Village business. And that's just kind of the span of 38. All but the town center district really focuses on the properties that front Main Street and the ones immediately behind them, just to create that cohesion along the corridor. But the town center district, as it stands, if you look at the dark outline, that's the current town center district. And you can see on this side of Main Street, the side that Town Hall is on, it stretches down and encroaches quite far down Dewey Street and Pleasant Street. And some time ago, when this was originally developed as developed as an overlay district, the intention was to create more of a village feel and pull the commercial down Pleasant Street a little bit. The overlay district's been in place for well over a decade, and that hasn't really done anything except hamstring the people who have single-family homes along that Pleasant Street corridor. And it holds them to business level standard dimensional requirements, and it also does not allow for certain residential accessory uses. So family suites and accessory dwelling units could not be built on properties with single-family homes that are in the town center district, because both of those things have to be allowed where single-family homes are supposed to be, not where they're pre-existing non-conforming. There's no path for that. So especially with the advent of the ADU law at the state level, there's quite a few households there that would not be allowed to exercise that new use. So the intention here is to take the area that has that striping and revert that back to the R40, which is our single-family district, and the speckled area is Gettysburg Commons, and having that incorporated into the adjacent multifamily district, so that it matches up with I'm blanking on it, Heritage. So those two multifamily developments are abutting each other. There'll be a multifamily district where Heritage already is, and then the rest of it would be single family. During the planning board hearing for this article, a property owner in the town center district, the property that is immediately adjacent to the old fire station, did ask for their property to remain in the town center district because they wanted to develop it as a multifamily building. And that is something that, because the person made the effort to go to the planning board hearing and make the request, and it doesn't result in spot zoning, meaning that it is contiguous with the rest of the area that is to remain town center, the board felt that that was an appropriate ask, and they did recommend the article as amended by taking that one piece and keeping it in the town center district. That's something that the planning board will submit at town meeting in writing to the clerk, so that it may be voted on first, but that is how they recommended adoption.
I'm sorry.
Seeing nobody from the public? Do you have any questions?
How many, I'm trying to count, how many parcels approximately does the zoning change to R40
About
affect?
40.
Okay.
Was there any of those requesting this, or is this?
No, this was really just to kind of clean up what looks like an anomaly in our business districts.
Okay.
And again, especially with the advent of ADUs and getting, a deluge of phone calls of people asking to do it, one person in that district did inquire about it, and we had to tell them that they wouldn't be able to do it. So they were not an impetus, but it came up naturally in conversation. So it seems like something that's going to serve the people who are already single-family homeowners in that district, and they've been that way and they stayed that way, even though the business zoning has been in place for, like I mentioned, well over a decade, and it hasn't been exercised. So, I sent individual letters to all of the people in this catchment area. 2 property owners did attend, including the one that the board decided to make an exception for. And I received a couple of phone calls to the office, but there weren't a lot of concerns. They just didn't really understand it, which I can fully appreciate. So I explained it to it, I explained it here, and I hope it made sense.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Okay. Any motions?
Motion to adopt Article 33.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous vote?
Nicely done.
Thank you.
And I believe,
Mr. Chairman, just to go back, just to follow up on that the article, I think it was Article 18 with the change, the amendment. So I just to verify, and I'll send you something in writing. I don't want you to vote on it tonight, but it is $10,000 from each one, from sewer retained earnings, water retained earnings, and it'll reduce the balance in those two accounts by $10,000 more dollars. What I like about Tewksbury is you can actually amend a article up, and you can't do that when I was in my last place, so that was nice. But just as a little context, the tariffs that have been changed have caused the price of those quotes to go up, so it's going to cost the town $20,000. I will get that amendment, send it to you electronically, and have it for the pre-town meeting vote.
Perfect.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
All right, so can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Okay.
Unanimous vote? Okay, town manager, do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. I have a transfer.
Transfer.
This transfer is a lateral transfer of $35,000 coming from the Sewer Emergency Reserve Fund, which has a balance of $60,000, which would leave $25,000 in that account. And it's covering a deficit in the sewer overtime account, which is a negative $23,092. And that deficit's a result of when the budget was created, the COLA was not yet established, so the overtime budget did not reflect that. So that unforeseen cost is being transferred from reserve fund to the sewer overtime account.
And what's the number on that? Is that S?
It's 35, the number of the account?
No, the number of the
Transfer?
transfer.
5R-1.
I think it's SR.
Is that SR-1?
Yeah, SR.
Okay, SR-1. Thank you, that's it.
All right, so any motions on that transfer request?
Can I just take a quick look?
Sure. Yep.
I think Al sent it to us a week or so ago.
Yeah, I know, but I
it's always-
forgot.
I completely forgot too.
So just to say it again, it was for the overtime account part of it?
Yes, sewer overtime.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
SR-1, I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Right?
Unanimous vote?
I have a quick question for town manager.
Sure.
The handout,
Yes.
is it you still in progress?
I'll be picking that up tomorrow. It looks like this. I don't think they
That's, it goes through like all the warrant articles?
goes through everything. The only thing different is that what it basically did was I took the budget presentations and used them for all the finance articles. And then there's one in there for every article, as there has been before.
Like an explanation?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that completed or is that online? or-
It's online.
It's online, okay.
It's available online. It's been there for a few days.
Okay.
Or actually over a week, I think. And then I'm picking it up from the printer tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, and then it'll be available, I guess, either we drop it in a couple of different places and then about 300 of them to town meeting.
I think you're being optimistic on
Yeah.
attendance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we did put out QR codes around the town that you could sign up for a distribution list for town meeting, and also that you could look at any town meeting documents, so you can grab them off the website, which includes that.
Great, thank you.
So our next, okay, so we closed the public hearing. We've got no minutes. So our next meeting will be
The
May 5th,
pre-meeting on the
the pre-meeting,
7th. Oh, the 5th.
the 5th,
Yeah,
at 7 o'clock, right?
Yeah.
correct.
And I will have the recommendations. I need to have them out by,
Good question. What is the 5th next week?
Yes.
Yes.
So the sooner the better you get it to town clerk.
So, yeah, sooner the better,
Probably by Wednesday, probably.
the latest, yeah. So hopefully tomorrow,
Yep.
probably Wednesday. Okay. Nothing else? Any other motions?
Motion to adjourn?
Again.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.